1 second. All right.
Here we go.
I need speakers in here. There we go.
It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents, not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Welcome, Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Brand new show this week. I was actually out the studio the last 2 weekends out for business. And so just want to get back, and lots of great stuff will go in. I'm super excited to be back in here. All kind of things going on. The market has been really on fire so far this year. People across the country talking about some of the busiest Januaries they've had in 10 plus years, which is crazy. So we'll talk about what's going on there. We've seen a similar uptick in terms of new properties going under contract. We'll break down, look and see how the market really stacked up last month, which is January, with the brand new market numbers in. And interesting, we'll go over those, kind of what they're doing. Some marketplaces right now are struggling a little bit, like South Florida. You're seeing inventory climb as much as 200% there. We'll talk about a little bit stuff with that, but lots of great stuff here in Myrtle Beach so far. I was looking just today, right, $190 million in properties under contract the last 7 days, which, remember, if you're a long-time listener, anything near $200 million going under contract in a 7-day period is absolutely smoking. So look at that. Obviously, it has to do with interest rates. We dropped back into the sixes briefly this past week. The 10-year Treasury went down significantly, which hopefully will help relieve some pressure for mortgage rates as well. But lots of great stuff we'll talk about. Again, we also have some data we didn't really get to last time about what's going to happen in 2025, what everyone's kind of predicting to happen in 2025 in terms of inventory, in terms of sales, in terms of interest rates. I'm getting that question a lot personally, and so we'll talk about that on today's show as well. And again, if you ever want to come back and listen to these shows again, please do. We actually stream them on YouTube. Just type in Blake Sloan Radio Show. You stream them on Facebook. Type in Blake Sloan. Follow me on there, or you can follow Sloan Realty Group, LinkedIn, everywhere, and also your favorite podcast platform as well. Just type in Blake Sloan Radio Show, and do the same thing we're doing every single week for 15 plus years now. We have one goal: to keep you updated for anything, everything real estate, to help you really make better decisions for your largest assets. And that's our goal for today. Lots of great stuff.
For any new listeners, just to give you an update on just who Blake is, it's an amazing story. Industry leaders have dubbed him the real estate whiz kid. Been featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, NBC, Realtor Magazine, and many other national publications. He has been personally endorsed by Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck. One of those by itself is an accomplishment, but all of them together is unprecedented. Last week, we learned a little about how you and your team work, and how a good portion of your success has come from the trademark systems you have developed to help both buyers and sellers here in our market. Recap quickly for anyone new to the show what those are exactly, and a quick overview of how they work, Blake.
Absolutely. This is just the whole DNA and the reason why we do the show, and really my why behind taking time to prep for the show, and obviously continue to do it every single week, just because I see so many massive mistakes made for people with their largest assets. And for most people, the largest asset is their real estate, right? Either their personal property, their investment properties, rental properties, commercial properties, land, whatever it is. I just see so many horror stories, like literally every single day in the business, that we see people give away their hard-earned equity that takes a long time and a lot of effort to build up by simply making the wrong decision over and over. I mean, I see it literally every day. And the problem is, it's across the board. It doesn't matter how fluent they are. They always make the same mistake of thinking that all real estate agents are the same. And it could not be any further from the truth. So it's like any doctor, any law. You have to really understand, like, it's a service-based business, but this is not like serving you dinner at a restaurant. This is a long sales cycle that takes 100 plus variables in 90 days, right? That everything has to be handled correctly, or it can cost you a lot of money, right? And so most people don't realize, they think that all agents are the same. I guess get anybody to do it, but that's not necessarily the case. You look at some national numbers last year. I may talk about that today, but they showed 77% of agents in North America sold one or less homes last year, many of which sold zero. And so you have someone who's selling not very many properties, handling these long sales cycle with lots of details and lots of nuances, where every single decision makes or breaks the home sale, aka how much equity you have in your pocket afterwards. And it's disastrous because there's so many things that need to be handled correctly, both from an advisory standpoint and how they tell you how to make good decisions, how to negotiate, all these things from a pricing standpoint. There's just so many things that get dropped, and most people don't realize that it's just like any doctor, any lawyer. And again, I know this because of the horror stories we hear, the previous experiences that people have, and also the questions people ask us. No one really ever asks the right questions. The number one question we always get is how much do you charge, which is a great question, right? It does matter, but at the same time, you want to make sure that that question is along with actual value. Because if I want something that's just based on the cheapest, and I talk this all the time with my team and even with clients, like it's just so important to share. There's not one single thing in my entire life that will truly benefit me if I shop based solely on the cheapest, right? If I get the cheapest lawyer, what happens? I go to jail, right? Get the cheapest doctor, what happens? I probably don't make it through. If I cheapest anything in the survey, get the cheapest dinner, guess what? Probably not going to be a great experience. If I want to buy a BMW and I want to go find a BMW for me, and I go around looking for the cheapest BMW in Myrtle Beach, what do you think happens? Absolutely terrible car that's not going to last very well, right? So the goal here is find the best value of how do I make sure I can get the most money for my home at the best possible value at the least price in terms of cost from an agent standpoint. But you want to ask the right questions like, hey, what do you do to get my home sold? What's your experience like? How many homes have you sold? What's your marketing plan look like? How can you differentiate my house from my neighbor's house? All these things are the right questions that we want people to ask. And my goal for the show is just to help people educate themselves of like, look, you're all doing it wrong. Everyone tends to do it wrong. I mean, it's like, I'm telling you, I couldn't tell you last time I had like a great question from anybody about realtors. They just always call the office every single day. They have one question: how much you charge? If they don't like the answer, they just hang up. And they just simply look for the cheapest agent, which we all know in life, if you look for the cheapest anything, the outcome is not going to be very good. And so we're not the most expensive anyway. We're obviously very, very fair price, pretty much same price as everyone else. But what concerns me is everyone's asking the wrong questions. And so here's the deal. Most don't realize when you're selling a property, there's 118 different variables from A to Z to get your property sold correctly. How do we know that? Well, we took the time to outline and go step by step to figure out, hey, what has to happen to get things sold and get the property sold for the most amount of money? And so they'll realize if each one's handled correctly, it puts money in your pocket, property gets sold. Anything's handled incorrectly, aka they drop the ball at any point. And that could be anything from price strategy, from the quality of the photos, from the order of the photos. Does your agent actually answer the telephone? We had this happen. The lady this week, she went Google the top 5 realtors, I guess, got us, called us. She called in the office. She had an appointment booked with them, 2 minutes. We were there the next day. We get there and say, hey, how's it going? She, well, interview these agents. Hey, no problem. Who else are you interviewing? She said, well, you're the only one that's called me back. And so this is what we see all day, every day. And so the thing you got to realize, so many buyers are calling your property to buy it, but your agent doesn't answer the telephone. And why is that? Well, it's because they're so busy trying to juggle all these balls of 118 different variables from one listing. But the problem is now they got 10 listings because they're trying to survive. And statistically, only 50% of listings are actually selling right now in the market. And so while they're basically the same person, McDonald's doing their front register, the draft and their french fries at the same time, they're doing anything and everything to get that listing from you. The problem is they don't have the support staff in the back end to help actually execute to get the property sold. And so when I got in the business, I realized, man, everyone's all the same. We were all the same. I was at a big box store, brokerage, Coldwell Banker. It was me and 200 other agents. They didn't care about me. I didn't care about them, right? Because there was no alignment. They were literally trying to steal our clients because they would hear me over the cubicle and take the phone number down that I would say, and then they call them behind my back, which is just crazy, right? There's no alignment. And the problem I noticed in the industry is that there's all this stuff that has to be done just for one listing. But the problem is you can't survive off just one listing. You need 10 or 15 listings to survive. So now you have 118 variables on 15 listings. And it's simply impossible for one single person to do that. So I was like, man, there's got to be a better way. And what I did was I looked at what people did outside of real estate with real businesses. Like, man, how do we have a true support staff who can make sure that they can do all the things that I don't like doing, that I'm not very good at, right? Like administrative tasks on the back end, posting things online, certain things, whatever it may be. And so we flipped the business model upside down. I created this thing called the Guaranteed Sold System. And it's the only proven system that sells twice as fast and for 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. But what we did, though, is we added 2 main things that most people don't. Is we added a large team of people, 30 plus agents in our team. And so we have a team of buyer specialists all day long, every day. All they do is they hunt. They make phone calls to buyers that we have. We have 100, they make 100 calls a day, each agent, about 16,000 phone calls per week on average based on what type of agents they are, what side they're on. We have listing partners who are listing specialists. We have an inside sales team, an outside sales team, support staff, listing coordinator. So we have everyone on the team is a specialist, but with the old school model, everyone there is a generalist, which means they're not really mastering anything. And so the second thing we backed it up with is technology. artificial intelligence, with also a lot of data. So we make sure the same thing happens the same way every single time. And what happened was we became much more efficient. And to feed that large team of people, we had to spend a lot of money. And so we outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint, which allows us to bring more eyeballs to our clients' properties. And so that's just the whole thing there. And I want to share that because people make this massive mistake of just asking the wrong questions and thinking the wrong ways about how to pick somebody. Like if I want to pick an attorney, which I've done that before, right? In business, you have these issues that you deal with. And so guess what I usually do? Interview a couple of attorneys, ask them the right questions, but I reverse engineer the questions I ask based on the outcome. Hey, what type of law do you practice? Have you practiced this type of law? Have you had this type of case? What do you think about my type of case? What do you think the outcome would be? What would be your strategy? How would you handle it? Like you ask those type of questions. I don't really ask, hey, what do you charge first? I ask the right questions. And then based on my top choice or choices, then I worry about what the charge is. And so that's just the one thing I wanted to kind of educate people on. Here's the deal. The same thing for buyers out there, the exact same problem, right? There's 100 plus variables in your buying property. If each one's handled correctly, it saves you money when you buy. You get the right one that you want at the right time. If anything's not handled correctly, aka they drop the ball, and guess what? You miss out on the property, or you tend to overpay, both in purchase price, home inspection negotiation, all those pieces. And so I designed this thing called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Gives you priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation for purchase price, as well as the home inspection to get you that closing table successfully. But both of those are designed to do one single thing. And the thing that they do is they give our client a competitive advantage in the marketplace. We stack the dominoes in their favor. We know there's 118 different variables. The other agent doesn't even know that. Why is that? Well, they haven't taken time to break that down. They're just trying to survive. And so what we did was we stacked the dominoes and make sure that everything's handled correctly at point one, everything's correctly at point two. And you stack those small gaps over a long period of time, aka the sales cycle, and it creates a massive gap and a massive advantage for our clients. So if you want to know how it works, you owe it to yourself to at least investigate it and learn, hey, what questions should I ask? How should I look at this differently? And that's the one thing I hope you take away from today's show. If you want to know more, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com. I'll take a quick break, right back in a second.
Hi, I'm Barbara Barber. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sellers, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers at time crunch, we can agree to sell it by a certain date, take cash for the home, or even rent it.
That's great. And if the seller has a big board time,
We use our proven marketing plan and sell it for the highest price.
work with my friend Blake Sloan and get the home sold on your terms.
Hey, WRNN listeners, Clay Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home.
Totally true, Clay. And here in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. If you need to sell a home and buy a new one, ask Blake about his guarantee.
Get this, Blake guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, or he'll buy it himself. And since you know when your current home will sell by and for how much, you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with two mortgages.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 five-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing. That's Sloan Realty Group.
And tune into Blake's show Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Lots of great stuff going on. We'll talk about the market. And here's the thing. There's two types of numbers we talk about, and they're very, very different right now. And again, we're in right now a just total interest rate driven marketplace, right? Once they drop into sixes, guess what? People go crazy. We saw that happen in November, December, right? Rates came back down, then went back up. And what's happened once they came down to sixes, everybody jumps back in. Why is that? Well, affordability is better. It gives people the ability to move, laterally or up or down, whatever it is. And a lot of buyers who are on the sidelines waiting for the rates to come down tend to jump back in. So we'll talk about that. But really, I'll tell you, I've been talking to a lot of colleagues, and I was at a business conference last 2 weekends ago. And one of the colleagues said, man, this is the busiest I've been in my entire career. He's been in the business 12 years. He's in Denver. And it's just something you see a lot across the whole country in many places. And that's in terms of new properties going under contract. We track two main numbers here. We have what we call the rear view mirror numbers, and that's what closed last month. And that's closed in January. Yeah, I think though, if it closed in January, it went under contract 30 to 60 days prior to that in most cases. So you could be using data that's up to 90 days old. That's great data because it tells me, hey, look, here's what it closed for. Here's what the comps are. Here's what it's selling in your neighborhood. And that way we know it actually sold. The new numbers I look for, my front windshield numbers, that's what I really make my strategy picks on based for our clients. I can look what's happening real time. And I want to have a real time pulse. I track this number every single day in our office. We track it literally in our morning huddle. We go through it together. We track really a couple main things. How many properties were under contract the previous 7 days? What was the total volume of those contracts total? And we look at what the inventory is, how many properties are available, and then also we watch interest rate. And so looking at closed sales, I'll talk about that in a second. But if you look at overall new properties under contract, it's absolutely on fire. So in the last 7 days, we had 491 properties under contract for 190 million 43,000, which is amazing. I talked about before, anything June, July, August is like 200 million plus. And so anytime you're at 200 million, especially in a month of February and January, like that's rock and roll. And again, that's a lot of people who feel much more confident, right? Post-election, a lot of people on the sidelines during that time period. And so they're jumping back in. And we're seeing a lot of big money come in here, which is, I grew up here, born and raised here. And it's just shocking to see a lot of these numbers. Like the last 7 days, one property $5.9 million, another property at $4 million. We had 4 properties over $2 million under contract, 18 properties over $1 million, 83 properties over 500,000. I'm like, man, we're doing multi-million dollar properties every single day of the week here in Myrtle Beach now. Used to maybe see that once a year. I always tell my family, who are these people? What are they doing? They must be getting a lot of that USAID money, I guess. I don't know, but the reality is there's just lots of big money coming in right now. And if you go back to just a few weeks ago, right, first of January, last December, it was 303 properties for 107 million. Right now we're at 491, right, almost 200 more properties in a 7-day period, and almost really $90 million more in a 7-day period, which is almost double. So lots of big stuff happening right now, and it's giving great news in terms of properties that are going under contract. So just a kind of a summary of that, you're seeing springtime numbers in January, February go under contract. And so what does that mean from a strategy standpoint? It means if I'm thinking about selling, I want to do that earlier rather than later, because we're in a very interest rate driven economy. There's been a lot of what we call pent up demand, who are people waiting for the election, waiting for the holidays. And so you take that combination of both and you add the added confidence, based on what's happening. And now they're jumping in, which is why you're seeing $200 million in properties going to contract in early February. And so if you think about that, you want to take action a little earlier rather than later. Looking at close numbers, those are one that closed last month. So typically that's what really happened in November, December. Closed sales up 2.8% from the same time last year for single family resale homes, 326 properties, not bad at all. Overall price for median price up 2.3% at $394,000. Average price dropped slightly. We're seeing that bounce around the past few months. It's down 1%. So right now it's $497,021. It was just a little bit above that the same time last year. It did drop month versus month. So December was 510, then January 497. So it's just been bouncing around there. If you go back to November though, it was 491. So it's just kind of in those high 400s. It did peak out last year in May at 520,000 overall. One thing we've seen for inventory is down really. It's up year over year. It's up 26% year over year. But if you look at the last few months, in November, there was 4.6 months of inventory in the market. Right now, only 4.3. So down significantly. Anything less than 6 months on the market is a seller's market, meaning they have the advantage. Anything above 6 months inventory means the buyers have the advantage. There's just more to choose from than there are actual buyers out there. And that's just something you've seen kind of normalize overall after the COVID, kind of years we're seeing there. The one thing you're seeing too that a lot of people don't realize, days on market, average days on market right now for the entire MLS is 115 days. That's significant. You're used to seeing selling during COVID in 2 or 3 or 4 days. Right now, the average days on market, 115. We've had really good success. I had a conversation with a seller this past week because one of our clients, and she said, hey, my area in North Myrtle Beach, it's 103 days. Yeah, well, typically we're able to beat it. Here's how we beat it. And here's where we're at. But if you're in the overall marketplace where everything's taking 115 days to sell, obviously you want to create your strategy around that. And you can do one or two things. You can sell it faster or you get more money for it. And so what I'm really good at is reverse engineering a strategy to get, most we can have both. And so that's just something that is something to watch right now that a lot of people don't realize, I think shocking. Because if you go back to, let's say, June 2024, just last year is only 88. Right now it's a new high at 115 days on market. overall. The one thing too you're looking at, showings per listing are up a little bit. So the average showings per listing right now is 3.5 showings per listing. That's the entire time it's listed. So typically you're talking a 6-month agreement. You're talking every single listing out there, they're getting 3.6 showings total. Right now, the average amount of showings it takes to get a contract is 13.2. And so if your property was listed and it didn't sell, that's the most important number that matters to you. And I tell us all the time, like, I cannot force a buyer to buy your property. I can open and close those cabinets all you want and point to the kitchen and the kitchen table and the refrigerator and tell them how great the stainless is. But they know in 2 seconds if they like the house or not. You can't force them to do it. Now, obviously, you want to share with them all the features and all the benefits. But most importantly, the one thing I can do that you really can move the needle the most is drive more traffic. And so what I'm really good at, basically being a marketing and real estate business, is driving eyeballs to the property. We do it through marketing, through our sales team making 16,000 phone calls a week, professional photography, videography, drone, virtual walkthrough. Like, I want to drive more traffic because my goal there is to get to the 13.2 showings, right, on average, which is where the average contract comes in. The problem is, this is why the agent you choose matters so much. It's simple math. The average agent you choose gets you 3.5 showings. This goes back to earlier. Well, the question people ask, well, hey, how much do you charge? They want the cheapest agents. If I get the cheapest agent, what are the chances I get 3.5 showings per listing? Pretty high, right? Why is that? Well, that's the average. Well, if I know the average amount of showings it takes is 13.2, that means I need 4 times the amount of showings to get the property sold than I'm actually getting. And so that's why the agent you choose matters so much. You got a friend in real estate, great. Can they make that gap? Can they get 4 times the amount of showings that the average listing gets? And if not, how are they going to do it? And that's why it's so important to understand what makes or breaks the home sale and how you have an agent who can help you get there through that process. And so in a condo market is obviously been kind of resilient in the face of just a lot of challenges really across the country due to HOA increases, special assessments, insurance issues, things like that. But it finished up last month of 5.3% from the same time it was last year, which is great news. Sales price, average price down a little bit for condos, down 4.4%. If you look at median price, down 1.6%. It's actually pretty resilient here in Myrtle Beach compared to what a lot of places are seeing in terms of condo market, because it's been very difficult. Inventory for condos up 45% from the same time last year at 7 months of inventory. And guess what? You see the same exact equation there for showings per listing. So right now, the average condo on the market, 6 months, gets 2.1 showings the entire time. Well, how do I know those numbers? Well, everyone in MLS has to use this software called Showing Time. They track every showing. They're the ones that really give access to each showing. And so they have all the data from all the companies and all the listings. And so I use this data to give our clients an advantage because I understand it and I study it. And so the average amount of showings it takes to get a contract is 9.3. So the average listing is 2.1. The average amount it takes to get an offer is 9.3. If I want to get my client's property sold, guess what? I got to bridge that gap. And I do that through marketing. But you think about it, the average listing for a condo needs 4.5 times the amount of showings than the average one gets. That's why you can't just use any old agent. That's why you can't just use your friends who part-time bartends and also does the real estate on the side, right? You need someone who's a true specialist, who's an expert, who can get you that differentiation to get the eyeballs on the property to get you the most money. So that's something we'll keep watching. Obviously, we're in a very, very interest rate driven marketplace right now. This past week, we had a low 6.99% for a 30-year fix, which is awesome. Last week's show was 7.07. Right now, we're at 7.0 on the dot for a 30-year fix. Hopefully, we'll see that come down a little more. A 15-year fix rate right now, 6.37. A 30-year jumbo loan, 7.3%. A 30-year FHA loan, 6.38%. And a 30-year VA loan, 6.4% overall. The good news is we saw a 10-year Treasury drop pretty good this past week. And that thing goes back to what Trump, and I can't remember the guy who's from here. He's actually from North Myrtle Beach, is part of his cabinet. They're putting a lot more pressure now in terms of the Treasury bonds, and they're using that to get interest rates down long term. So I'm really, really optimistic about that, see what happens. But we'll keep watching. If you're thinking about selling, you're seeing $190 million in real estate go under contract in a 7-day period in February. You want to get your stuff together, get the ball moving. If you have any questions, reach out to me, 843-808 sold. Take a quick break, right back in a sec with a hot buyers alert.
With every election, there are issues that
directly impact your family's future. Hey, your friend Sean Hannity here, and the same is true for your real estate transactions. And when you sell your home, you need to speak to one of the agents right here in town that will get you the most money with the least hassle. I'm talking about Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Now, knowing the facts when you vote and when you sell your home is always important. That's why you should check out the value of your home in today's market. When you know the accurate value, you are better equipped to make an informed decision with all the options laid out for you. You know, options like an instant
After the
offer
stop
or
sign, you'll have about 3
timeline
minutes.
and take
Okay.
advantage of their guaranteed sale program. Or just put it on the market and get more money than you expected. Just go to the website, find out your home's value in seconds. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com. And get your home's real value in today's market in just seconds. And then you can start packing.
Hey, Myrtle Beach, it's Gary LaVox, lead singer of Rascal Flatts. When I'm Moving On won the award for ACM Song of the Year, it struck a chord with folks who understand the challenges that come with life's big changes. For many, that happens when it comes time to sell their home. If you're moving on, you want a real estate agent who will make selling your home easy and stress-free. An agent who's willing to let you out of the contract if you're not happy with their service. That's why in Myrtle Beach, I can tell you that Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group markets your home on a whole different level. Now listen, Blake is so confident in his ability to sell your home quickly and for more money that he guarantees to sell it or he'll buy it himself. If you're moving on, trust Blake to provide your family a stress-free home sale experience. Find Blake Sloan online at blakesloan.com or you can call him at 843-808-SOLD. Start packing.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Hot buyers, look, my team and I are working a ridiculous amount of home buyers right now, looking at properties here in the Myrtle Beach, Grand Strand area, anywhere from $250,000 to $4.4 million. You're thinking about selling, give us a call, 843-808-SOLD. That's 843-808-SOLD. One thing we're doing here a long time is putting our money where our mouth is. Like I mentioned, I have a very unique business model. It allows me to outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. We spend 6 figures a month in marketing every single month. Most agents don't make that in a year, much less spend that in marketing, much less spend that marketing in a month. And so that's how we're able to create more eyeballs for your property. We have a much bigger reach because of our unique business model, because of the way we hustle and the way we make 16,000 phone calls a week. So right now, active home buyers, look at my property here, 79,232 active home buyers, 79,232 active home buyers. If you're thinking about selling, give us a call, 843-808-SOLD. Right now, I got Brandon from Beverly Hills, California. I got Alfonso from Myrtle, South Carolina. I got Derek from Elmira, New York. I got Hanover, PA, Stony Point, New York, Florence, South Carolina, Bear, Delaware, Pittsburgh, PA, Wake Forest, North Carolina. These are real buyers searching our site this exact second. It tracks our IP address. Obviously, it knows where they're at. And so if you're thinking about selling, you want to sell with the one that already has buyers in waiting so it doesn't take as long and we can drive up the value because we create more demand for the property that way. So if you want any more, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD. Really quick, awesome success story. Jim owned a house in Conway, decided to move west after his wife passed away a few years ago. He wanted the transition to be super easy for him, did not want him to have the hassle of fixing things up, having a lot of people go through his house. He reached out to multiple investors. They were only offering pennies in the dollar. Thankfully heard about Sloan Realty Group, reached out to us. We shared with him. We had hundreds and hundreds of buyers looking for properties exactly like his. I designed a custom plan, launched our global marketing blitz, professional photos, drove massive traffic within 2 weeks, had a fantastic offer that was as is, meaning he fixed nothing. He was able to move forward, get it sold, and get out west, which is awesome. And then also one more, Ted, this is a really cool story. His longtime friend passed away, left his entire estate to a charity, and he left Ted in charge of handling the estate. Ted obviously wanted to honor his friend, making sure that they got the most amount of money for the property. Wasn't sure what to do. Reached out to a couple of investors. They gave him lowball numbers. And so he heard about us and our guaranteed sold system on the radio, reach out to us. We sure we had tons of buyers looking for properties with no HOA, and we could bring a buyer fairly quickly without having to fix anything up because it's an estate sale. We came in, designed a custom plan, launched global marketing blitz, professional photos, drove massive traffic. In a couple of weeks, had a fantastic offer. And the cool part is, right, they agreed to buy the house as is. We helped them with some court stuff too to help navigate there to get permission for it. And everything's taken care of, and the money got donated to the charity. So that was super cool. And so if you want to be like that, massive success, give us a call, 843-808-SOLD or blakesloan.com. We'll see you next week. Not bad for 2 weeks off.
Do what?
Not bad for being gone 2 weeks. Usually I kind of screw something up, but